Do me a favor, go look at what was included in the shipment on your last 1,000 orders. Ideally, it's what was purchased, but what else was included? A thank you card, a sticker, a piece of marketing collateral, something that somebody came up with somewhere and had made, shipped to your 3PL. And maybe it's even a product because that product was cheap and there was plenty of it sitting in a warehouse. Now, take the thought put into that product or that marketing collateral and think about it in comparison with how long your team spent arguing over whether your last promo should be 15 or 20% off. What's interesting is both of those decisions are ultimately trying to do the same thing, which is to get a customer to try something they haven't tried. One of them costs you margin on products people already intended to buy. The other costs you a few dollars of product, and that's it. This week, we're talking about samples, if you haven't figured that out already. The free thing, the nice gesture, the GWP, and why you should spend a little more time thinking about something that is actually quite relevant to building customer value. Hi, I'm Alex Orley, and this is Hard Margins, your weekly e-commerce brief brought to you by RetentionX. RetentionX brings all your customer, product, and marketing data into one place and shows you what actually drives profitable growth. Which customers come back, which products create better customers, which ad dollars are wasted or spent optimally. Then it acts on all of that information automatically. That means better signals to your ad platforms, smarter triggers in your email flows, and your storefront sorted by what converts. If you have questions or topics you'd like covered, reach out directly, alex@hardmargins.com. So like I said at the top, this week is about sampling. And more than that, it's about why sampling is a merchandising decision. And most brands hand it off to a lowest common denominator decision maker. We're going to cover a lot. How a gift with purchase does a discount without a discount's damage. How to choose the right product, and why almost every sampling report you've ever read likely misstates the result. So first, a little anecdote. Picture a beauty brand launching a new product. We'll call it a barrier serum. Now, the unsophisticated version of this brand might launch the product with a discount offer to their best customers or customers who've bought a similar product. But a savvy brand is not going to touch the price. They drop a trial size of the serum into every order over a certain threshold. And importantly, they tell the customer about that threshold. Now, one order does two jobs. The customer buys the thing they came for at full price. That's moment one. Then the brand puts a new product in their hands without asking them for a second buying decision. That's moment two. It costs a few dollars of product instead of $18 of margin. And the threshold is what makes it work, because 15% off comes off everything in the cart, including the items the customer was going to buy regardless. A gift at $80 only pays out to people who cross the $80 threshold, and it gives some of them a reason to actually get there. So run the comparison on the right numbers. It's the sample cost of goods against the incremental contribution margin from the higher basket. The retail value against the discount percentage doesn't tell you anything. Now, most sampling programs pick the product backwards. Generally, it's overstock or the cheapest SKU, whatever launch needs attention. All three of those start from your inventory problem and work outward towards the customer. But you should start at the other end, always, in every instance. Look at what customers do after they buy a given product. Some products in your catalog have a quiet gravity. People who buy them come back sooner. They buy across more categories, and they stay with the brand longer. That's a retention magnet, and it's usually not the product that you'd think at the outset. Sampling puts that product in someone's hands well before they'd have found it on their own. You're compressing discovery time on the item that makes everything downstream more valuable. So when you're picking a product to include as a sample, the things that you want to think about are brand stickiness, product stickiness, the follow-up purchase rate, category expansion, and contribution margin, most importantly. So back to our beauty brand. You put the serum sample in 10,000 orders. 3 months later, 1,000 of those customers have bought the full size, 10% conversion. That's a great number. It's almost certainly overstated. Some of those 1,000 customers had already bought the full size at some point. It's even possible some had the full size sitting in the order that came with the sample. Some were going to buy it regardless, and some received the sample precisely because they were already deep in the category, which means you sampled people who were converting anyway. Compare got the sample against later bought the product. You'll book credit for a lot of purchases you didn't necessarily influence. The cleaner journey is much more narrow, and you actually have to define it before you start shipping the samples. The customer had never purchased the full size, the sample order did not contain the full size, and the purchase happened inside a window you set in advance. That's the sequence you're actually trying to create, and it's the only one worth counting. This is something you can easily do with RetentionX. The before and after segmentation conditions let you build the cohort on what happened before the sample order, what was in that order, and what happened afterwards. Without that, you're guessing with way too large of a denominator. So if you want to get better at sampling, here's 5 things to implement to make sure you're doing this properly. So first, give every sample one job. It's either introduce a launch, it's lift AOV through a threshold, it's create order number 2, it's moving customers from category A into category B. One job. If you can't name the behavior you want next, you're shipping a product without a thesis behind it. Second, pick the product from downstream behavior. So pull follow-up purchase rate and category expansion by SKU and sample what you want the customers to discover, not the inventory that you want to clear. Third, set the threshold with intent. So put it slightly above your natural basket behavior, your average order value, so it creates a stretch and close enough that a normal customer can actually reach it. Then check the incremental contribution margin against the true landed cost of the sample, including pick and pack from your 3PL. Fourth, write the measurement logic before the launch. No prior full-size purchase, no full-size item in that order, a defined conversion window, and if you can't manage it, a holdout, a comparable group who got no sample at all. The holdout is going to be the difference between a number you believe and the number you can actually defend here. And lastly, measure the whole commercial effect. So threshold-driven average order value lift, sample to full-size conversion, median days to conversion, your second order rate, category expansion, the LTV at 90 days and 180 days. If the program only wins on a single metric, you might have been better off doing a promotion. So here's where I'd leave it. A sample and a discount buy you the same thing, which is a customer getting something new that they haven't tried before. The discount buys it by lowering the price of your entire catalog and training people to wait. The sample buys it at cost on a product of your choosing with the price list untouched. But this only matters if the product has a job and the journey gets measured cleanly. Otherwise, the sample is going to stay what most brands generally assume it is anyway, which is a throwaway item with very little strategic intent. So what I want you to do, go pull your follow-up purchase rate by product for the last 12 months. Look at your top 3. Ask yourself whether any of them are in your sampling program right now. If the answer is no, you've found the change you can make quickly. Thanks for listening. I'm Alex Horley. This has been Hard Margins, your weekly e-commerce brief brought to you by RetentionX. If you have questions or topics you'd like covered, reach out. Alex@hardmargins.com. I'll see you next week.